there are two things we talked about earlier that I really want to bring together and share with you how important they are. The first was getting in the flow with your work time, working in chunks of uninterrupted time and taking uninterrupted breaks to get in the flow state. And then the second thing we talked about was getting into flow for longer periods of time when we talked about sprints and marathons. I shared with you in college, for example, how I would get in the zone for 2 or 3 days at a time by obsessing over the test and really cranking out whatever I had to do. And then obviously when the test is over, there's rest time. So balancing between maybe a full-on sprint with your work and then scheduling specific days just for rest as well. And what I wanted to share with you here is what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi says or kind of makes as a challenge in the last chapter of his book. You see, he talks about the flow state and how athletes and different people can really get fully immersed in what they do, where they lose a sense of time and they produce their best work. But the challenge at the end is, can you make your life into a flow state? Can your entire life be lived in the flow state, or at least a large part of it? And that's something I wanted to share with you here to think about, because living in that state is a state of optimal experience, a state where you're really squeezing everything out of life. And I think that's really the most important thing you can do. So here's what he says. An important part of getting in the flow state normally, let's say you have a big project you're working on and you have a goal for that project, you have a challenge, and only once you've established that can you really get in the flow state to work towards that challenge or goal. Likewise, the key to making your life more and more of a flow state is having a bigger goal for your life, having a definite purpose, like we talked about earlier. And then once you have that, I think what's really important is working hard and playing hard. Few people do either. They don't go full-on, full-out efforts with their work and full-on, full-out efforts with their play where they rest and rejuvenate as well. Henry Ford said in his book, My Life and Work, that every man who works ought to have sufficient leisure. The man who works hard should have his easy chair, his comfortable fireside, his pleasant surroundings. These are his by right. But no one deserves ease until after his work is done. And what that really reminds us of is go full on out with your work. Go hard. Get really immersed in it. Let everything else, all distractions, fall away, both when you're working in chunks of uninterrupted time and when you're working in larger periods of sprints, which are a few days or a week at a time or whatever it is. Work hard and play hard and have it all fit in to that larger major purpose that you've set, and you'll feel a fulfillment and an optimal state of experience, as Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talks about in Flow, that perhaps you've never known before. So I just wanted to share that with you here to really bring it all together and just something else to think about and maybe work towards.